Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, it happened again. It happened again. There was another insurrection that were going to take over the nation. More than 300 arrested in the US House protest calling for Israel-Hamas ceasefire. They were right there in our sacred Capitol building, shouting and being a bit noisy, talking in a way that politicians don't like. It's definitely a hardcore insurrection. More or less the exact same thing as if 2,000 ISIS fighters were pepper potting across the front lawn, rinsing the police with machine guns and AK-47s and firing rocket-propelled grenade launchers at them. It's exactly the same, right? It's definitely an insurrection when nobody within a mile of the place has got a firearm, and the only person that died as a result of the horrific, dangerous, violent, extremist insurrection was an unarmed woman who got shot in the eye by a black man. Okay, I'm sure you've all seen it. I just want to point out the staggering, mind-melting hypocrisy from the insane, brainwashed, essentially deranged and corrupt mainstream media. Just remember the response to the essentially small riot where nobody actually got killed other than a protester. The response to January 6th. Here's a good one of my favourite boss-eyed, hormonal teenager, steroid-addled former congressman, Adam Schizinger.
We just had to, hold on.
Lawmakers shaken by what they heard.
But you guys won. You guys held.
The officers testifying before the first hearing of a special committee investigating the insurrection.
Is there anything more cringe than that? That guy crying. I mean, look at him. Little portly dwarf with wider arms than his waist. A clear case of steroid abuse, whereby you've got fat arms, but you cry more than a hormonal teenage lesbian. The guy is an embarrassment. You can see, by the way, it's like he's 14 years old and he's trying to impress the girls. Maybe he's a midget. I don't know what his problem is, but he's a lunatic. And that was the way they were spinning it. January 6th was a full-blown attempt to take over the country, which doesn't make any sense. Like, what were they going to do? What were they going to do? They were unarmed. And they were just going to, install a government? And everyone was going to go, oh yeah, next one, this is a good idea. It was always a nonsense. But all of a sudden, when an equally sized mob takes over the Capitol building, funny old thing, the narrative changes. That was an illegal demonstration. An illegal demonstration. They shouldn't have been there. They didn't apply for a permit. They just rocked up in a massive gang and started chanting and shouting and messing about. Nobody seems to be getting filled in there, though, do they? I haven't seen an eagle-eyed copper blasting anyone in the face at that protest. Why aren't they attempting to redecorate the foyer in brain matter grey this time, I wonder? Let's read the story, though, shall we? Maybe they will elucidate. More than 300 people were arrested for illegally demonstrating and 3 people were charged with assaulting police after protesters descended on Capitol Hill to call for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Weird that, innit? More than 300 arrested, illegal protest, assaulting police officers. It hasn't been on the TV. Not a word. It's almost like they can take 2 almost identical incidents and turn one of them into international headlines. I look forward to reading now about how some of them are going to now be in prison for the next 4 years. Right? No trial, no jury, 4 years in the clink. Why? Because you had a daft hat on. That's why. Hundreds of demonstrators from Jewish advocacy groups, including Jewish Voice for Peace and If Not Now, poured into the Congressional Office building on Wednesday. The fact that they are Jewish advocacy groups is even funnier, right? That they are almost as daft as Queers for Palestine, which is hilarious. As I keep saying, clown world's a thing. That is, the fact that exists in the real world is funnier than anything the world's most creative satirists could ever come up with. It's like a rape crisis centre, a women's advocacy group advocating that all somewhat peculiar, sexually aggressive, angry teenagers get sent a bottle of Rohypnol, a hammer and a ski mask for their 18th birthday, get them issued by the government. Go on, lads. Pop out into the streets in the dead of night and enjoy yourselves. It's the maddest thing I've ever heard, and it's real. So, brilliant. I love that. The comedy writes itself. Demonstrations are not allowed inside Capitol buildings, and police said they warned the crowd to stop before they began making the arrests. Oh, you get a nice warning. You get a nice warning if you're a woke lefty protest. How many warnings did that Ashley Babbitt get before she got shot in the face? Did she get a few warnings, did she? Didn't get any warning shots. The first one went straight into a barnet. And the media doesn't care. The only source I found calling it what it is, i.e. a staggeringly hypocritical example of the mainstream media selectively lying by omission, right? The only one I found was Real America's Voice, who asked the obvious question.
Then violent protesters were arrested in the Capitol. Over 500 total were arrested yesterday. Will these insurrectionists get decades in prison like the J6ers and sit thousands of days waiting just for their day in court? What do you know about this? Look at them fighting Capitol policemen. I'm really trying to understand how this isn't an insurrection and why no news media...
Me too, love. Me too, love. Why no news media seem to care. One thing, though, the angry Bootneck believes in equal justice before the law. So this fella, wrestling with the police far more aggressively than the Jamiroquai shaman guy, or Ashley Babbitt, or any of the rest of them, I believe he should be treated in the exact same way as any other red-blooded American. Which is to say, he should be put in a stress position for 6 hours with electrodes on his testicles and a bag of pork scratchings over his head, and then locked in a tiny black cell for 4.5 years without ever talking to a lawyer. Right, fair's fair. I simply want equality before the eyes of the law. But what say you, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think it looks a bit like an insurrection-y event there? I think it does. Looks a little bit chewy in that building today. I wonder why nobody's been treated to a high-speed skull reconstruction. I have no idea. Maybe you can tell me in the comments. Anyway, just a quick one before I go to work. You can have that for now. Thanks again to everyone who's signed up for the membership. I have made a Discord group and I'll be sharing the details tomorrow on a live stream, probably about 6 PM UK or thereabouts. I don't know. I'll wing it. But I will be streaming at some point and I hope to see you all there. Thank you as usual for watching and I'll see you in a bit. Toodle pip. Cheers.